Today's episode is brought to you by Finished Objects and Yarn Piggery, so stay tuned.
Oh, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said ooh, shut up and dance with me. We were victims of the night.
Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Nonscents. My name is Jan and you can find me as Jan Ellen RN on Ravelry and on Instagram. We have a Facebook group for Nonscents. It's not very active, so I hope if you're on Facebook that you will go over there and let's start some fun on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Nonscents. And we also have a group on Ravelry, Nonscents podcast group over on Ravelry. So I hope you will come and join us there. So I think that's the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Boy, this has been some week. I don't even know where to start. I did put up, and I hope that you all enjoyed or had a chance to see the vlog that I did from last weekend's Long Island Yarn Crawl. We had a lot of fun. My only regret is that the first day, which was pouring, by the way, it was start on Thursday, and of course that day was pouring, and that was the day we did the shops out on the East End. So they're farther apart. My only regret is that I did not, for some reason, I forgot to take my camera that day. So we missed out on, I'm trying to remember if we only hit 3 stores that day. I actually did 3. The girls did 4, and I went back the next day to the one that I missed on Thursday. I went back to on Friday. I had to be somewhere Thursday. I don't remember what it was, but I did miss the Long Island Yarn and Farm, which is Tabitha, and so that was. But you know, it was kind of a rainy day, so we wouldn't have been able to get really good shots of the farm. But at any rate, I hope you all enjoyed. If you had a chance to see the vlog, I know we had a great time. Probably too good in my case. I think we all kind of did well. I don't think any of us shied away. Okay, here we go. Starting off, chair noise. Oh boy. So that was last weekend. And I'm sorry, there's something on my computer that's driving me crazy. I'm probably going to make everyone seasick by jiggling this. I'm usually, my table and the surrounding area is usually loaded and things are kind of on the edge, ready to fall over. We're just super overloaded today for obvious reasons. And I'm literally living in fear that something is going to hit the deck. Literally. And I don't care if it's an item, but I have, and this is barely even full. It's barely anything in here, but there's absolutely no place to put it. It's sort of like, if it spills, what do I care least about if it spills on? Okay, so all I'm going to say is that following the yarn crawl, things took off at about 600 miles an hour from here, and I'm going to just say that a stop in the emergency room with overnight emergency surgery for a family member does tend to give you a lot of knitting time. So in the past week, I was able to get a lot of knitting done, as you will see. So yeah, so it was a rough, literally the night, the last night of the yarn crawl when I got back, things sort of took a turn, but everything is fine. Everyone is okay now. It just caused a rough couple of days and a rough rest of the week. But it is Sunday. It is April 29th. Tomorrow's the 30th. And it started out as a rainy, yucky, cloudy, drizzly, foggy day. The sun is out now. It is quiet. Things have resumed. I don't even want to say normal. There's no such thing as normal in this house. We're normal's a setting on the dryer, especially here. But things are quiet. Everybody is well. Everybody is doing fine in various states of recovery, and it's all good. So, let's see. What do we have on the agenda today? I have some works in progress. One new, one that you're sick of seeing. But again, sitting in an ER does tend to draw one to socks. So we have that. So I have one new, one old, one recent, works in progress. I have 3, count them, 3 FOs. I do. So that let me, I did not feel too bad about casting on one thing. I have resisted casting on the whole. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even look at it. It's just embarrassing at this point. But what I will say in my own defense is everything that I purchased on the yarn crawl was purchased with a pattern or a design in mind, a specific reason. So no single skeins unless they had a pattern specifically in mind for them. So I will say that. I'll put that out there. That everything that was purchased for a reason. So I think that about covers where we're at. So why don't we just jump in with what's on the needles with the knitting. I know you're sick of seeing it. I know, but look, I have a finished sock. I finished one sock. I really, didn't want to cast on in the waiting room or whatnot for the second one. So I have one completed sock, which is just a plain vanilla sock with a fish lips kiss heel. Again, I know you're sick of hearing it, but this is Desert Fisted Dye Works in the Bing Crosby and the Andrew Sisters colorway, which fortunately I love. And you can see I got it on the sparkle base. So I don't mind sitting with this sock for a long time, but at least one is done. I mean, you were seeing it. I know. I was showing it like, here's the heel, and now I'm here, and now I'm here, and now I'm here. Well, now I'm done with the sock. Actually, I did it this way. I don't know. For some reason, I don't know what I was thinking, but for me, I made the cuff really short. So I'm going to have to literally go buy stripes for where to put my heel in. On my second sock and kind of hope for the best, but I'm not worried about it. It is what it is. And this is hanging out in my Fringe Company bag in the blue. And you'll see I might have taken the plunge on that too. Okay, so in the bag that goes. So that was one that we all know has been around hanging forever. So once I got a lot of my needles cleared off and got a lot of FOs done, I went through, again, the whips that I had. I'm really trying to whip down and either finish it or frog it. I did frog something last night. I don't even remember what the heck it was. And I did start, it was a couple of episodes ago, the Darlene sweater. And I am going to take that off the needles. I only got about this much of it done. And it's not the pattern. It's not the yarn. I will find another sweater to knit with the yarn. But the more I looked at that pattern, I don't think it will look flattering on me. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to knit this whole thing only to find out what I knew in the first place, that this is not going to be flattering. So again, I went through all of my whips, not too many left, so that's a good thing. I did go through that whole frogging event, but the few that I left, I want to finish. I don't know how to turn that ding off. I turned off in the settings. I went to notification. I am going to shut my phone up though, and I turned off play sound for mail and notifications and all of that, but it's still doing it. So clearly this computer, I have no control over this any more than I have control over anything else. The notifications popping up don't seem to be making anything, but something is dinging and I don't know what it is or how to turn it off. Now I went off on a tangent. Okay, for those of you that have been with me for a while, you will remember that I had started the Dashain sweater. Now, there's a lot of patterns I'm going to be talking about in this episode, so I'm not going to show them all because this episode will end up being 2 hours long, and I know I couldn't take that much of me, so I doubt anybody else could take that much of me. So what I will do is I will link all of the patterns below. So if you're interested in them, you can have a look at it. But a while back, I had started the Dashain sweater, and as is I am wont to do, I got more than halfway done. In fact, I did the entire front. Let's see. This is the front. Okay, and basically it's a stockinette sweater with a beautiful lace panel down the center and a really pretty border on the bottom. Now again, on most normal people, this is actually a very short top, and it is meant to be worn with something underneath it. Clearly, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for other people, but with this in the front, I don't think I would wear it without something underneath it, even like just a camisole or whatever in the summer. So I did finish the entire front, and I had started the back and then just left it for something else. So I did pick this back up again, and here it is. I did make some progress on this, if I can untangle it. Jeez Louise. And basically the back is just purely stockinette, so I don't know why I just let it sit. You know, I don't know if I'm knitting this top down or bottom up. I'm assuming it's top down. That's the way the front was done, because I would think that the bottom of this matches. This goes to show you how far ahead in the pattern I looked. But anyway, I mean, not very interesting. This is the back. It's just purely stockinette. And then what happens is you join the front and the back and then pick up around the armhole for sleeves. Now the pattern, the sleeves, already things are falling. Here we go. The sleeves come down to about here. Now this yarn I am using, let's get the basics out of the way. What am I using? I am using Good Earth Cotton Linen Blend. I want to say that's what the pattern called for, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is a cotton linen blend. It is 40% linen, 53% cotton. It says medium 4. I believe this is a worsted weight. I believe. Again, I don't have the pattern in front of me. It's on Knit Companion, so I don't have the details, but I will link them all in the show notes. Yeah, this is the Fibra Natura is the brand, and it's their Good Earth blends cotton linen, Good Earth line, and their cotton linen blend. So I don't think this is something necessarily I would wear in the fall, or certainly not in the winter because of the blend of it. Maybe over a long sleeve turtleneck or something along those lines. My point being that I can see my purpose in knitting this and the way I see wearing this is under a tank or under a camisole. And if I put long sleeves on it, it's not going to make it all that wearable in the summer. So I think what I'm going to do, instead of knitting down the sleeves, when I pick up for the sleeves, is I think what I'm going to do is instead of knitting, I may knit 1 or 2 rows and then just do this border around the sleeves and then bind off, so that the sleeves maybe will come to about here. Because I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember where I saw this. And I believe it was last summer when I was at SSK in Nashville. I believe I saw this on a mannequin in House of Yarn. I think that's where I saw it, and I think that's where I got the yarn for it, if I'm not mistaken. And they did not have sleeves on that pattern. So I may just get the sweater done and go back to House of Yarn when I'm there in July and ask them how they finished it, or go to their webpage, their Ravelry page, and see what theirs looked like. At any rate, all that blathering was to say that I repicked this back up again and am working on finishing this. And it's knit on size 10.5 needles, which I'm going to show you the needles that it's on, only because I'm going to be making a comparison with these needles. I am knitting this on the Melodies of Life needles, which came in a big box set, and I know I reviewed them many episodes ago. And I will be talking about these later on in Stash Enhancement. So stay tuned for that. But I'm really enjoying them. My point, though, is that they're knit on a size 10.5, and I believe it's worsted weight. So this is knitting up pretty quickly. So that's the Dashain. The other thing that I picked up, and this is something I didn't start too long ago. It was just maybe a couple of months ago that I started my Shoei Shrug, which I was desperate to start. And this thing has a history. If any of you have been with me for a while, you remember. I went months ago to Do You Knit in New Jersey. She used to be in Westfield. I know she moved. I'm not exactly sure what town. I don't remember. And she's been closed. She is reopening her shop on Tuesday in her new location. But at any rate, I had gone there months ago with the express purpose of buying yarn for the Shoei Shrug. I did. I purchased yarn. I was very happy with it. That night, the dog knocked coffee on it. It ruined 2 of the skeins. I was completely unable to wash out that coffee, which kind of makes me wonder what's in that stuff that we're drinking. But be that as it may, I went back the next day because I was so aggravated, went back to New Jersey, purchased more yarn, got that yarn, cast on the shrug, and all I can tell you is that it looked like a candy cane. And normally I would say it was not red and white. It was like a fuchsia and white, not even pink, but it was sort of this fuchsia color, which was beautiful. But with the yarn that I had it with, the only thing I could think of was my days as a candy striper, which were not happy memories. Okay, it was I don't know how I became a nurse after that candy striping experience, but suffice it to say that I would have looked at that thing and never would have worn it. So I went and got a different shade of yarn, recast it on, and have pulled it back out and am working on my Shoei Shrug. So here it is. This is pretty much all I have done so far. This is the light side, and this is the dark side. If you're not familiar with brioche, and this is knit flat so far. I don't know if this is joined at some point in the round. Again, I tend not to look too far ahead in my pattern. I just look to make sure that I have the techniques or have access to learning the techniques that are required. And then I basically just take things step by step. But right now this is being knit flat. But in any case, any brioche pattern has a light side and a dark side, and you knit each side once with the light color and once with the dark color. Now, your light side could be your dark color. It doesn't make any difference as long as you note it. But in this case, my light side is my light color. My dark side has prominent, and you can see it's just more prominent. That's the dark side. So I didn't get too far. This is where I'm at. It so far has been a very easy pattern to follow. The yarn that I am using, let's see. I am using Hedgehog Fibers Skinny Singles in the Teacup colorway. And the other skein that I'm using is by, I believe this is Tote Matine. I'm almost certain. Yeah, Tote Matine in the Roost colorway. And I thought these went really, really nicely together. Honestly, I was looking for something wearable. And I think that's why the magenta and the white just didn't, aside from the memories it was bringing back as Candy Striper. And back in the day, I don't even think they have Candy Stripers anymore, but back in the day, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this, but we wore these pinafores that I think I literally still have mine somewhere up my attic. But they were these pinafores, like apron type things that buttoned here, and they literally were candy stripes. It was red and white stripes on this thing. Heinous beyond belief. I mean, they really were flattering to no human. But be that as it may, they weren't made to be flattering, but it was just, you were a volunteer. So you brought water, brought the patients water, you pushed the book cart, things like that. But somehow or another, wherever I was, there was a disaster not far behind me. And it was just an absolutely horrible experience for me. Again, it actually did turn me so far off of nursing that when I was in high school, and I'm going off on a tangent again, but when I was in high school, I actually won the nursing scholarship. And I turned it down, went to school for something else, and then ended up going back for nursing. Okay, that's the story of the candy striping. So pink and white in stripes together isn't going to cut it for me. I love pink, I love cream, I love white, but when you stripe them, not going to happen for me. Okay, so that is the story of my Shoei Shrug, which I am currently working on. And those are on my size 6 signature needles. So that's that for that. In the bucket it goes. We went over that, right? Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to the new thing that I cast on, which, again, if you watched my chair noise, God, I can't deal with this myself. Something on there. My poor dog is sick. And this is not Emma. This is my other dog, Colby. I'd pick him up, but his tummy is really sore. Completely lost my train of thought. If you watched the vlog, you probably noticed on one of my friends, Deirdre, was wearing the Ninilchik Swoncho. And I flipped for it. Now, I had been eyeing this from a long time, from when she was making it. And, I was like, oh, I don't know how wearable it is. And as soon as I saw her wearing it, I knew I needed to get yarn. I was like obsessed through this crawl to get yarn for it, and I just couldn't find what I wanted. But I did, and I cast on. So here's what I have. Let me show you the colors first. I am using, oh gosh, she's sick again. Oh, you poor baby. Okay, I'm actually going to pause for a second, and I'm going to take care of my dog. Sorry about that. Okay, so first let me show you the yarn that I'm using for it. It is Queensland Yarn, and let me just pull this out carefully without yanking anything. Okay. It is Queensland's collection Rustic Tweed, Fine Wool Alpaca Tweed. 65% wool, 25% alpaca, 7% acrylic, and 3% viscose. And I have to say, it doesn't specify the wool, so I'm assuming this is not a merino, this is more of a rustic type wool, but I don't know if it's the alpaca content or which wool, but this is soft. This is really soft. So I got this in the natural, and then you needed 3 contrast colors. So I got, you need 1 skein of each, and oh boy, I have to poke through to find the color. One is Smoky Skies, okay, Then the other is, what is this? That. I think I would have been a little more prepared. Okay, it's just. This is color 117. Very creative name on it. I'm sure I couldn't find a color name. You know, sometimes you think it's you, it's really not. Once in a while, it's not me. And the other one is this reddish color, which, let's see if that one has a name. It is color 113. Okay, so those are my contrast colors. Now, what I am going to say, let's take out and look at what I've done. I just started this. I've kind of got a mess of needles here. I just started. You work, I believe, from the top down. Is this, I know, I can't. Look at this. I'm showing the back end of the sheet right out loud. How cute is that? This is a Truffle Shuffles sheet. She is a shop on Etsy. And the only thing I can say is that if you want to get any of her creations, she does sheep, she does Yeti. I've gotten a fox from her, an abominable snowman. Can't remember what else. But you need to be super fast because the minute her updates go up, within literally 2 minutes, everything is gone. So that's all I can say about that, is to keep an eye out. You can have them email you when her shop is open, because it's only open when she has the updates and the stuff flows out. So back to the Swoncho we go. And I've started at the top. I'm on the second chart. I'm really enjoying knitting this for a number of reasons. I've been doing a lot of craftsy classing things on stranded color work, and really how to carry your floats, how to make your floats really look nice. I mean, I've done stranded before. I've learned how to carry floats. I mean, I know, but somehow or another, I don't know, I really, really wanted these to come out really nice. So again, like I said, I'm kind of not only playing with carrying the floats, but I'm also playing with color dominance on this one. Now, if you do color work and you are not familiar with color dominance, you should be. And I'm sure people that do color work have learned about it. But basically what it means is that when you do, and I'm going to use just 2 strands for an example, but when you do color work, just by the nature, whether you hold both colors in your left hand or both colors in your right hand or one color in each hand, which is the way I do it, by the nature of the stitches, one color stitch is going to be slightly larger than the other, and therefore that stitch is going to be your more dominant color. Meaning, and you can actually, I mean, I doubt the camera will pick it up, but right here, I chose to have the white as my dominant color because I wanted that to pop from the blue. And that's what dominance does, is it makes the color pop from the other color. Now, that's all fine, and as long as you're consistent, it really doesn't make a difference which one you have pop. What happens though, and when you run into a problem, is if you are knitting color work and you're not aware of color dominance, and you pick up your knitting and you suddenly start making the other color dominant, you're going to see that in your work. It is going to be very, very noticeable. See here, I actually made the lighter color the background color, and the red I wanted to pop. So that color is dominant. So you have to, you have the opportunity when you're doing color work to choose which color you want to pop. The way that you do that is the color you want dominant would be the color you're holding furthest to the left. Whether you're holding 3 colors in one hand, whichever color is furthest to the left, that color will be dominant. If you're holding one in each hand, the one in your left hand will be the dominant color. If you're holding 2 colors in your right hand, the color to the furthest to the left will be the dominant color. So that's been really fun, working with this pattern to decide on each different one of the charts which color I want dominant, and then making sure that it's in the right position. So this is as far as I've gotten on it, and it's like I said, so far this has been a really fun knit. The only thing I will say is that the pattern calls for size 24 and up needles. When you get to the bottom, you're going to need a larger needle or an extension on your cord or whatnot, because you'll be doing the bottom of the poncho. So yes, in fact, now, oh, it is in the round. I was thinking something else. Again, my mind is wandering. The pattern says size 24 needles and up, and that you need to increase your cord size as your poncho gets larger. I can tell you a 24 didn't do it. There was no way. I had to go down to a 16, and even that, until I started doing some increases, even that just made it. So if that's something that you choose to, or you want to cast on, I would highly recommend starting with a 16-inch needle. And then as soon as you see your stitches starting to bunch up, then you can move up to a 24-inch needle on that one. So that's, I think, it for my works in progress. Finished objects. I have three finished objects. I finished my novelty up to the point where it's blocking. So it's sopping wet right now, and I realized that to enter it for SSK is having knit-alongs for all of their teachers. So if you knit something, any pattern that the teachers have put out, and you finish it, you will get, I think it's like one door price ticket for every 100 yards of yarn that you use. So I did my Baby Novus, which was a Laura Nelkin pattern, and the novelty is a Laura Nelkin pattern. So I may be outside later on waving this novelty because it is blocking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a picture right here. And once it's done and it's dry, then I need to just single crochet to stabilize the neckline. And then there's an optional hem. So since it's an optional hem, I think I can, because tomorrow's the deadline for the knit along. So I think I can call it good and at least post it as an FO. And then, but I will whip stitch up the hem. If you remember from when I showed as I was knitting it, her Novus construction is very unique. You literally start at the sleeve, the top of a sleeve. Then you cast on for the front, and you provisionally cast on for the back. Both of them are provisional casts on. So you end up with this T shape. Okay, you have a piece of fabric here, and then you cast on and start knitting this way, flat. You have an opening, you split for your neckline, so you're continuing to knit across this way. Decreasing for the neckline, decreasing and increasing for the back of the neckline. And again, your stitches are not going this way, your stitches are going this way. When you come to the other side of the neck, you rejoin and you knit flat up to the end of the sleeve. You put your front and your back stitches on holders, and then you continue to knit the top of the other sleeve. So now you have this piece of fabric with a back. Let's see if I can do that as well. With a back, with two sleeves, and a front. Okay? Now you just have to join the front and the back because you've knit the whole sweater, but it needs to be joined. So instead of seaming it with her Novus construction, Laura designs different panels that you knit up the side and down the bottom of the sleeve, and they will connect the front and the back of your garment. On the baby Novus, it was garter. This one had the Novus T, the novelty, had a very, very simple but very pretty lace panel. And the lace panel actually goes down the shoulders and the top of the sleeve, and then it joins all the way down to the bottom of the sleeve. And she actually worked in, which I thought was just really genius, some very clever decreases so that your sleeve didn't sort of like hang just because. I mean, she did decrease the pattern to the end. So again, I know the picture isn't much. Hopefully next week I will be able to wear it. We'll see. Actually, next week I will probably not be recording, but we'll get into that. So that's one finished object. Finished object number 2, also a Laura Nelkin pattern. This has been on my needles since January. I finished it last night. I have not blocked it yet, so I'm going to have a lot of blocking to do later on because, again, I really would like to get this entered. This, if you all remember, I had been working on forever, is my Flosaic poncho. And this was the first pattern in the Laura Nelkin N Club for this year. I'm not actually going to put this on because I am really hoping that this is going to block much bigger. Because right now, it's not looking real good to fit even like a close poncho. But I have seen the pictures, I have seen people wearing this, and this section here and this section here is all ribbing. So I am assuming that this is going to have a good amount of give in it. Even if I don't stretch out the stockinette portion, which is actually not all that big, that this will give quite a bit. And I did do a very loose bind off, so I can get quite a bit of stretch out of this. But it is finished. I actually wove in one end. There should only be one other end to weave in. Now that I think about it, I've done great. I wove in all the ends. Yeah, just my starting end. My finished end is woven in. I wove in all the ends on the novelty. And one of the suggestions was to use, because it's knit out of cotton. What did I use? I used the Cloudborn Pima Cotton from Craftsy. It was a kit. And one of the suggestions was to weave in the ends, block your garment, and then to use fray check to keep them from popping through. Now again, I've never knit really a garment with cotton, except for that baby sweater, which now I'm hoping does not unravel because I didn't know anything about the fray check. I didn't really, do that. I just wove the ends in really well, so hopefully they won't pop out. But I do have fray check, so I will, after I'm done blocking it and it's dry, I will use the fray check to hopefully keep those from popping through. And I have one more finished object. I finished my squared poncho. And not only did I finish this, but I wove in every single end. How not me is that? But I was so excited to get this finished. This was really, for something that's just literally garter and miles of Icord edging, you would think you would go crazy. I enjoyed knitting every minute of this, to the point where I literally might just think about making another one. So here it is. It is very, very large. Very large is all I can say. Okay, where am I? Here is the neck, okay, where you start and finish your I-cord bind off. And I don't know if my lights, it's not getting dark, but it's getting cloudy out again, so that's not helping my lighting situation. But let's see if I can zoom in, because I loved the way the I-cord edging came out. And this was a little unique. This was done differently than I traditionally do I-cord edging. I usually just, you knit the 3 stitches, you slip one, you knit one, you pass the slip stitch over, slide the stitches down, and you start again. This one had a yarn over. You knit 2, you slip 1, you pick up and knit a stitch from the garment or one of the live stitches, and then you yarn over and slip that stitch, knit that stitch, slip it, and pass the other 2 slip stitches, the yarn over and the slip stitch over. I hope that made some sense. And I thought it made just so much of a nicer bind off. I mean, at first I was going to skip it. I'm like, I've never done that. Why do you need the yarn over? Well, you do. It just makes a more finished, nicer edge. I don't know why this thing is dinging. First of all, I'm showing you the wrong side. I did nothing special on the corners, and it went right around. This was really the only spot where I had a little extra. I don't know if I picked up an extra stitch in there. But each of the corners, I just went right around. And let's see if I can show you the whole of the poncho. So I'm going to try to put it on. I have to tell you, yes, this thing is ginormous on me. Ginormous. But I love it, and I don't care. So let's try the chair thing, because it's very long. It's warm as could possibly be, because don't forget, this is all 2 strands of fingering weight held together. So it's like knit in a DK weight. I'm going to stand up on the chair so you can get an idea. It's long. Okay, it is long. I'm going to try to turn around and not fall off so you can get an idea of the back. And let's see, I can scooch down so you can see the rest of the back of this. And here is the front panels. And I don't think I repeated the same 2 colors in any panel, but I did use the same color several times with different combinations. Like the guppy, which I thought, it's so not me. It's so outside of my box, I thought I would hate it. I used it as much as possible. What else? There was the Vogue knitting color from Do You Knit? The exclusive Vogue color, which was a darkish gray, very darkish gray, almost black, with pops of all colors in it. And I used almost every stinking bit of it. Here I mixed it with, I think, cereal, and here I mixed it with guppy, and somewhere in the back I mixed it with something else. I loved the colorway. I have been awful with putting my stuff up on Ravelry. I didn't even make a project page for this thing. Here, I know, chair noise. Let's get myself back situated again. Okay, that's better. But I did write down every square. Now, each square in the pattern is numbered, which was good because there's a schematic, so it shows you exactly which square number you're working on, starting with 1 and 2, and whether the black, you know, every single piece has a number. And it makes it easy for you to keep track of the colorways that you're using for each one, so that if somebody wants to repeat that color block, or if you do decide to make a second one and you want to say make this color again, you know exactly how you did the combinations. So I finished my squared. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm almost kind of sorry that it's getting too warm out now to wear it, but you can bet this will be at Rhinebeck in the fall. And that's it. That's it for works in progress and finished objects. I don't have really much spinning to show. I did do some spinning. I had been working on that pound of fiber from Hello Yarn. But again, I wasn't really home and near my wheel, so I didn't make enough progress to really bother taking it off to show you. It's just a little more full than it was before, and not that much. So that's that. So I guess we need to jump into, you can call it stash enhancement, you can call it enabling, or you can flat out call it yarn piggery. It all works. If looking at excesses of yarn is not your thing, I totally get it, and I will see you next time. But I really want to share what I got with you from the local yarn stores here, because we found some surprises. We really, I know I did, found some treasures in some local yarn stores that I didn't even know. You know, I knew of the store, but I didn't know, you know, a lot of them have changed since the last time I was in them. You know, sometimes, you know, you go in and you're like, oh, this is not my cup of tea, or they don't really carry yarns that I use. And now all of a sudden they really do. So it pays to check back. If you don't like a store, or if you haven't liked what a store carried and you haven't been in there in a long time, take a tootle back in there, because you may be surprised with what you find. So I actually wrote down, I wrote down what I bought and what I'm going to use it for. So here we go. Let's start with the little stuff. Where was I? At Nick in Roslyn, I purchased some Licka or Likey, however you want to pronounce it. I got some extra cords. That store has a very big selection, I know I showed it in the video, of not only the interchangeable needles, but they're fixed circular needles. So if you're in the area, or even you may check with your own local yarn store, they have a very large assortment of fixed circular needles. So if you're interested in trying these needles out, but don't want to invest in a full set, you can purchase. That dinging is going to drive me, between that and the chair noise, I'm going to lose it. You can purchase fixed circular needles to try them and see if you like them. I happen to love them. I have a full set, plus I have the little set with the 4-inch tips, which is actually what my Swoncho, it's a good thing I had them, and I was able to start my Swoncho, because I didn't have a fixed set of the needle size I needed in 16-inch needles, but I was able to make it with my 4-inch tip Likey needles, so, or Licka needles, whatever you want to call them. So anyway, I got 2 cords of those, and while we're on the subject, while I was in the Knitting Cove in Port Jefferson, I got some Knitter's Pride cords. Oh, that's awesome. Some Knitter's Pride cords. And one I got in the 32-inch, because that's probably the one I use the most, but I also got, which I didn't even know, I've never seen in this size, a 47-inch cable, and they actually came up to 60 inches. And I figured these would be great for working the bottom of the Swoncho, for working the bottom of ponchos. I mean, I have had garments where things have bunched up a lot, so I thought 47 would do it for me. And again, if you have interchangeable sets, the chances are that you have a connector, that you're able to take any cords that you have and make them longer. So I didn't want to get into the 60 inches, but I do find sometimes when you use that connector, your yarn can get hung up on it. So at any rate, I mean, they were $2.50. They were really inexpensive, so I figured I would get myself another 32-inch, and I would get a 47-inch cord with that Swoncho in mind. And she was so funny in the store. She actually literally was giving these away, these Knitter's Pride stitch markers. She was just saying, you know, I just want to get rid of them. They're not selling. I don't know what to, just take them. Just take them. So she was giving them away when you purchase something. And we were thinking that part of the reason why was because it's just really large. For a stitch marker, that's kind of large. I mean, that's really big. But, I mean, I might use that, like, if I'm, you know, like a worsted weight or bigger garment. I might use that as an end of round marker or something, and the two small ones you could certainly do something with. So that came along for the ride. This has absolutely nothing to do with the yarn crawl. This just happened to come in the mail. Shelly Can restocked her shop, and you know me with my enamel pins. So I got the octopus with all of these 8 balls of yarn, and then I got the skein rainbow, which were 2 of the probably only ones of hers that I didn't have. Which reminds me, I did get a couple of pins at, where did I get them? The Knitting Place in Port Washington, but I don't have them here. They're on a bag upstairs, I think. So, including her pin and the knit pin. So I'll have to show those next time, because I really, anywhere I saw enamel pins, I went crazy. Okay, so I purchased, and this was probably the only like impulse purchase that that I made, but in my defense, these are from Lamb Strings, and like I said, I wrote this all down, except I believe this was being sold at the Knitting Cove in Port Jefferson. Had the God, my brain is like somewhere else today. Had the trunk show, and 2 of my friends got these 2 colors. This one is called Atomic, which she is discontinuing, and this one is called Ode to Virginia. And they decided to knit the DK Brioche Bandana Cowl by Lavanya Petrocelli, I think is her name. And, you know, originally I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's for me or whatnot. And when we went to lunch the following day, one of the girls, Deirdre, was knitting hers, and it looked so happy. It just looked so happy, and she was enjoying knitting it so much, you could just tell. So the next day when we did go back to the shop, I was like, all right, she's discontinuing the colorway. If I don't get it, no, I'll be sorry. So I got these 2 skeins, and these are for, again, the DK Brioche Bandana Cowl by Lavanya Petrocelli. So that's 2 skeins. If you are a Fringe Supply Company field bag lover, then you will be very excited to know that they brought back the Toffee colorway, which has been gone and sold out for a long time and was highly demanded back. So they brought it back. So I got one of those. And it's very hard to describe because even on my monitor, I know when I looked at it online, it looks brown. It just looks brown. And I can tell you the name of the color is Toffee, and that's exactly what it looks like. There's a lot of golden yellow in this colorway. It's just a beautiful colorway. So if you're a fan and you know of the color, go get it. Okay. Then from the Knitting Place, at one of the yarn stores we were at, we had seen one of the workers was wearing a shawl. And 2 of us went bananas over the colors in the shawl, which the store was sold out of. And it was, let's see, it was Honey Rider is the name of the shawl. And it was knit, she had knit hers with Madeline Tosh in the Himiko colorway. Now, this is showing up as a brighter purple than it is. It is purple and black, and she combined it with this colorway, Dirty Harry. Stunning. Stunning, stunning. For that shawl, these two colors together, it looked gorgeous. We were in a hunt for these two colors, and we actually found them at one of the other yarn stores. So again, it's one skein each of Tosh Merino Light in the Dirty Harry colorway and in the Himiko colorway. So I got that at the knitting place. And the other thing that I got there, and I talked about it on my vlog, was I had gone into a Star Shower frenzy a while back, and I had knit them all out of the Anzula Nebula, which was basically their fingering weight with Selena. I mean, that's what it was. And I saw this and said, gee, it looks like the same thing. Turns out it is Anzula, it is a fingering weight, but it's their Lunara space. So basically it's exactly the same, except instead of merino stellina, this has 10% cashmere added into it. And I don't know what color, this may be showing up a little bit bluer. This is black. And I thought a black Star Shower would be absolutely stunning. So we added that to the list. So that's, let's see if we can try to not knock anything over. That's the beginning. We're not even going to mention what I already cast on, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's stash already. I know, it's just the way it is. As far as needles go, while we were at the Knitting Cove, the needle that I showed you before and that I had mentioned I was going to talk about later was the Melodies of Life needles, and they are Knitter's Pride. And what Knitter's Pride did was they basically came out with that set of needles in a big box set, and I know I showed it in a previous episode. And I think it started at a size 3, I want to say, and went up to an 11. And it came with cords, it came with stoppers, it came with earrings. I mean, it basically came with everything. It was a big box. And I love them. I absolutely love them. So I picked up a set of the Zing Needles, Knitter's Pride, the Zing Needles, and I believe they are exactly the same. In fact, I think they're actually, the colors are even the same as the Melodies of Life. So these needles, again, I reviewed the needles, the Melody needles. I can do a review of these. To me, these are exactly the same. They are very, very similar in the weight of the aluminum to the signature needles. They're not quite, now I'm comparing them to the stilettos. The middies, I would say the point is probably the same. The taper is a little bit shorter, but I have to say, if you have always coveted signature needles, but find that the price point is completely, you know, out of reach, which is totally understandable now, the way they do their interchangeables. These are a set you may want to look at. They are under $100. And they are Knitter's Pride, so any Knitter's Pride cord, the one I paid $250 for, will fit, and they will fit on all the sizes of the needles. Signature needles now, if you purchase a, they come now, you don't buy them fixed. They don't come fixed at all, but they don't come in an interchangeable full set. I think that full set is about $350, somewhere around that. So let's say you want to purchase a size 6 signature needle. Okay, you buy, it comes with the stock, you buy the stock and you decide which point. Do you want the very sharp point? Do you want the medium point? What length do you want? And then you get a cord. What length do you want? Do you want a 24-inch cord? Do you want a 32-inch cord? Do you want a 40-inch cord? You purchase that. Okay, now if you want a longer cord for your needle, you can't, and you also have a size 9 signature needle. You can't use the cord from that. You need to buy the cord that specifically goes with your size needle. And that can tend to start getting very expensive. Whereas with these needles, any one of the size cords fits any one of the needles, and any Knitter's Pride cord, whether you have the Dreams, whether you have the Novas, any one of those cords will fit on the Knitter's Pride needles. So I find these to be a really affordable alternative to the signatures. The only difference that I found is that the tip is not quite as sharp, which in some cases, I mean, I push with my finger. So in some cases, I mean, I've drawn blood. So in some cases, that could be a good thing. But these are plenty sharp enough that you can do your lace work with no problem at all. So picked up a set of those. All right, now I got to bring the next bag over. It's beyond embarrassing. I don't even know what's in these bags, to be honest with you. Okay. Tabitha from Long Island Yarn and Farm, and I know I've talked about her in the past. She did an exclusive colorway for the yarn crawl. It's a limited edition. I'm trying to think if she called it Waterway. She wanted to pick up and really speak to the island. So here is her colorway that she did for the yarn crawl, and this is a worsted weight. It's 100 yards. Actually, I think it's called Coastal Life, Liyf. So yeah, it's very, very coastally, very watery color, but this is so soft. So we thought, we each got a skein of it, and we thought we would use this to make mitts, a pair of not even fingerless mitts. I don't know with 100 yards how far it's going to get. So we're thinking either like, you know, short wristers, long wristers rather, or short mitts, one or the other. So we got that. And then I got, again with a purpose in mind, let me see which ones I got. Okay, I got these skeins. Okay, these are all by Toby Roxanne, who is also, she was from New Jersey. I actually think she moved up to Kingston. I don't know why, but I think she moved up to the Hudson Valley region, but she was from New Jersey, and I originally met her when she was first starting out with her print books, designing at my local yarn store that closed. And I had done an interview, which you can see when she first started dyeing. I had done an interview with her at a trunk show that a mutual friend of ours had hosted at her house. And she was trunk showing at, I believe, I don't even remember what store it was at. So I'm not even going to go out on a limb. But she was doing a trunk show. I think it was at the Knitting Cove. And I picked 3 different colors to go together for the Baubles shawl by Andrea Mowry, which is a shawl that I really, really wanted to knit. So the colorways, I did this in her chandelier fingering, which is her singles. This is called Burnished. So we got that one. I got 2 skeins of my main color, which I am obsessed with this color. It is called Petals. So that's these 2 skeins right there. Obsessed. And then I got this one, which is called African Violet. And I don't know if you can see, but in the African Violet, there are pops of this gold in there. So I saw these 3 colors together and knew that it just wanted to be the Baubles shawl by Andrea Mowry. So I picked those up, and I will cast that on as soon as something else comes off the needles. And then we saw in the Knitting Garden, which is actually technically my local yarn store. It's 10 minutes from my house. It's right here in Huntington. I had been there once years ago. I'm here 19 years. I was in that store once. I was like, well, they don't really carry what I like. I think this was the next time that I went in there, and totally different. It was set up differently. They had beautiful yarns. They did have a good selection of your standard Berroco, Cascades, but they also had a lot of new and really different yarns and things in there. So that was a really good experience. We bought Berroco Nebula, and I don't think this has a color name. This is in the color 7508. And again, I will link all of these in the show notes. But this we purchased for the Santa cowl, which they had a sample of in the store. We saw it, we went crazy for it, and we picked up a skein to make that. And then this was also, gosh, I cannot remember the name of the store. This was at one of the East End stores. Again, we saw a sample, and this was for a little shawlette called the Little Big Wrap. And this is like a self-striping yarn, which again, this is Queensland's, from the Queensland collection called Sunshine Coast. This is a merino and bamboo blend. And I have to say, I don't know where the halo is coming from, because I've never seen merino with a halo like that. And I can't imagine bamboo having a halo, but that's what it is. It's 70% wool. Now it says superwash yet, merino and bamboo blend. It's a 70% wool, 30% bamboo. I can't imagine where that halo is coming from, but this is so soft, and the bamboo gives it such a nice sheen. And I got to knit with it this. Okay, so when you look at the pattern, and again, this is for it's a pattern called the Little Big Wrap, and that's what these together will be for. So we got that. Almost at the end, I promise. I am almost at the end. And just, this is the backpack that you got when you made a purchase, with all of the participating stores. So maybe I can figure it out from here. No, I can't. Altman's. Altman's. That's where we got the yarn for the Little Big Wrap. That one that I just showed you, we got at Altman's. I can't remember where I got the other one from. And I don't even know what's in this bag. Oh, I know what's in this bag. I know what's in this bag. Two things. First of all, I had seen, and I can't remember, and I am going to go back and check who it was on my Instagram. But one of my Instagram friends was knitting socks out of a yarn that's discontinued. And I tried like a dog to get that yarn, to find it in D-Stash, to find it on eBay, to find it anywhere. Couldn't find it. All I know is the name was Cherry Blossom, and I can't remember the actual yarn. But I found a pretty darn close substitute, because that's exactly what it was. It was a base of white with pops of pink and blue, and I saw this yarn, wasn't even looking for it, saw the name Cherry Blossom, and I was like, that's it, I'm getting that. It may not be the same exact yarn, but it's going to knit up very similarly. So this I purchased at Knit in Roslyn, and while I was there, every yarn store had offered a free pattern when you came in, and this one that was at Knit, I flipped for, and they did have the sample there. It's called the Jack and Jill blanket, and they also, there is a matching cardigan and a matching hat. So I bought the yarn in these colors, in the gray and the pink and the white, because this picture, and I believe that the pattern is on Ravelry, so if you want a better picture, you can certainly go on there. But when you see this in person, you'll know why I just absolutely had to knit it. It's just all different textures. And, you know, in a baby blanket, it's kind of difficult to go out of either the log cabin or, you know, an elaborate design. You certainly don't want lace in a baby blanket because the baby's going to be sticking his fingers through. But I saw that with the different textures on it, and I saw the 3 colors, and down the rabbit hole I went. And it wasn't really even expensive yarn. It's LRA DK Superwash Merino, obviously superwash, so that's great for a baby blanket. So I got it in the pink, I got it in the gray, and I got it in the cream. And that's what's in this bag is enough to make the baby blanket. And that is it. So all in all, I thought I was pretty restrained. I thought I was pretty good because everything I got with a purpose, at least with, you know, a project literally written down for what I was going to use it for. So I'm kind of proud of myself for that. I think I went through everything. Did I get everything? Let's make sure. Gosh, I hope I got everything. It'd be embarrassing if I didn't. I did. Okay. So that is it for stash enhancement, thank goodness. So upcoming events. This coming Friday, today is Sunday, the 29th. Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival is next weekend. It is, oh God, let's see, 31, 2, 5th and 6th? May 5th and 6th? It's next weekend. Okay. It's always the first full weekend in May. So next weekend is Maryland Sheep and Wool. And I had not planned on going. I was going to skip it this year. Clearly, I do not need any more yarn. And I don't usually, to be fair, I don't usually buy yarn at these festivals because I found over the years that I end up with single skeins. I end up destashing them because you kind of get into that yarn frenzy. So I don't. I do not usually buy yarn at these events. What I do go and look for are things that supplies. I know this time when I go, I need soak. I'll pick up power scour, and especially if I'm looking for equipment. I know at Rhinebeck, the only thing I think I purchased was a picker, which you don't want to pay to ship, one of those big honking things, and you want to try it out. You want to see it. So that's usually, and when it comes to fleece, especially at Maryland Sheep and Wool, all bets are off. So I don't usually buy yarn. I'll look for locally handmade items, things like that. And this particular festival is one of my favorites. If you've never gotten a chance to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool, I highly recommend it. It is a very family-oriented event. It is a very, I want to say, sheep-oriented event. We all love Rhinebeck, and I love Rhinebeck, but Rhinebeck is much more about the vendors and the retail aspect of it. Even though there are, you know, shearing demonstrations and things like that, at Maryland Sheep and Wool, it's an entirely different vibe. There is usually a featured sheep breed. There's a tent that's open for that breed. You learn a lot about that breed of sheep. There are a lot of sheep demonstrations. I believe it's much more sheep growers oriented. That's not to say that there is not plenty of vendors and shopping to be had and done. Again, I wasn't planning on going, so I did not sign up for any classes, but I have taken classes before at Maryland Sheep and Wool. They get excellent, excellent classes. They're fun to go to. I've found that the prices are ridiculously reasonable to go to take classes there. They have excellent, excellent teachers. But we decided that we needed to get away for a couple of days. So my daughter and I are going to go. We're going from Thursday to Sunday. Normally we go from Friday and leave on Monday. But like again, I said, I think one full day of the festival and one, even if we go back on Sunday for a little bit, is more than enough. It's nowhere near as big as Rhinebeck. You certainly could do this festival in a day. So we're going in on Thursday because Friday is they're having Needles Up again. Needles Up is, I believe it just started this past Rhinebeck, was the first one. And what it is it's a collection of smaller vendors who are not vending at the festival, but got together under this umbrella of Needles Up, and they have an area, they choose an area where they set up their booths and you can purchase from that event. It's almost always, well, I can't say almost always, they only did it once before, and it was the Friday before Rhinebeck started. This time it's the day before Maryland Sheep and Wool starts. And it's in the afternoon, and I'm really, really excited to go to that. I know that Amy Beth from Fat Squirrel Speaks is going to be vending with her bags there. Sucre is going to be vending with her absolutely adorable stitch markers. Legacy Fiber Arts is vending there. Who's the other one? I'm trying to think. I can't remember the name, but it's the one that does Dress Up Betty. She will be there. And I can't, oh gosh, now I just literally looked it up before. Anyway, it's a fun event. It usually gets very, very crowded. So that's why we're going on Thursday, so that we can just relax for a while. We'll go to Needles Up on Thursday, the festival on Saturday, and probably early on Sunday, and then we'll leave to come home and hopefully beat some of the traffic. Because getting back into New York, I don't care when it is. I don't care if it's crack of dawn, afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, rush hour. It's impossible. Once you hit mid-New Jersey, it's going to be a miserable ride to go from there to where we are on the island. Doesn't matter what day or what time. It could take you longer. It's literally taken us almost as long to get from Nashville all the way through Virginia as it has to get from the central New Jersey onto Long Island. That's how bad the ride is. So anyway, we will be there. So if you see me, please come up and say hello. I would love to meet you. If you've never gone and have the ability, if you're in the area, if you've never heard of it, try and go. It's a great event. So I have that coming up. And then in July, I will be going to SSK, which is the retreat put on by the Knit Girls. This is their 7th year doing this at the Starrett Bennett Center in downtown Nashville. This is my 7th year going. And all I can say is I had a fabulous enough time at the first one to sign up as soon as I could for the second one. And I have signed up every year since and am blessed to have gotten in because it just gets better and better. And it was fabulous the first time. So that's all I can say. I can keep you posted. They have a wait list, and generally speaking, if people drop out, they pull from the wait list, but usually very close to the event, very often, they will start to just fill spots from the public, anybody really who isn't on the wait list. So if you have any interest in going, you can reach out to me and let me know, and I will let you know if I see that the spots are here on the podcast, if the spots are available. If you're not watching their podcast, you should be. Turn me off. Go over there. They know what they're doing. I'm just here filling in the time. Okay? They are actually really, really just my inspiration. That's all I can say. They are my inspiration. They inspired me to start spinning. They inspired me to get out of my box with knitting, to try different things. Literally, I am spinning because of them. I have learned so much from those girls that I can't even say. So if you don't watch them, and I'm sure if you're watching me, I cannot imagine that you are not watching them. But I love them dearly, and I cannot recommend that retreat highly enough. So if you've never gone, usually the opening, or they post up to sign up somewhere around Labor Day. This year was kind of late, but I will keep you guys posted for that if you can't make it in this year. I highly recommend going. It is a treat. It is just a wonderful time, and it's no pressure. It is laid back. You take as many classes or as few classes as you want. One class is included. You get a goodie bag, which the girls, once you see it, you know, have put a tremendous amount of thought into. It's not a bag filled with junk. It is filled with useful things. I mean, I have to tell you, I think it was last year, they put in there this little miniature digital scale. I think that was probably the best thing I had ever gotten anywhere. I use that thing constantly. So they put a lot of thought into it, and they put their hearts and souls into it. They will bend over backwards, literally, to make everyone there feel comfortable, feel at home, and they do, and it shows. You can tell that this is a labor of love from them. So I know I'm going on, and I'm ranting at this point, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to say, if you have the opportunity to go or sign up next year, do. But those are my upcoming events, and I am looking forward to both. So I don't think I will be able to record, but I will absolutely have my camera with me. I will be vlogging from Needles Up. I will be vlogging from Maryland Sheep and Wool. I hope to get those episodes up. If the internet is working and the gods are with me and the stars align, I may be able to put that episode up from there, from Maryland, which would be sometime next weekend. Otherwise, I will see you when I get back, and hopefully we'll have a lot of footage from there. And other than that, I hope you all enjoy a really good week. I hope that I know the snow in the Midwest was incredible. We got it very late here, but things are looking up. I am looking out, and it's now May, and I'm finally seeing Forsythia, which I usually see in March. It is getting warm. I am looking at my daffodils, which I also usually see at the very latest early April. They're finally up. So I hope that you are enjoying some really nice spring weather where you are, and I wish you a very good week. Happy knitting, and remember to knit with sense.